Hello, my name is Brenda Clark, and I'm the Director of MBA Research Professional Development. Today's webinar is going to focus on LAPs. The goal of this session is to provide ideas for you to use in the classroom and to really understand not only what a LAP is, but more importantly, how to use it in your own lesson planning and teaching of students. MBA Research is built on an instructional system that starts and ends with business. We're going to focus on the instruction side today, and particularly focus on the LAPs. So what is a LAP? A LAP is an entire lesson plan built around a single performance indicator, a specific topic. There are two sections of every lap. There is a student side or a student component and a teacher component as well. We're first going to look at the student component, not only what the parts are of that student side, but really how to use them to deliver instruction in your classroom. So the first thing that each lap starts with is a so what. Why is this important to read and to understand and to learn about? This particular lap focuses on business taxes, so it's asking questions about why is it important for businesses to pay taxes. This is really great as a ticket in the door or a ticket out the door. It's a really great tool if you're going to invite a speaker in, maybe an accountant or a business owner, to talk about business taxes, to provide that to them so they can talk about why it's really important for students to learn this particular information or performance indicator. The objectives are always listed in the student component as well, usually two objectives, an objective A and B, and then the reading follows that as well. You'll have the narrative, but one of the really cool things that I love about the student component are the links that are going to take students out to additional readings, research, videos, activities, and games. So they're not just reading about this topic, but they're learning it in different ways. There's a total recall section. Don't think about this just as an end of the objective section review that students are going to complete if you actually have them read the student component. Think about them as questions that you can use in discussion for things that students are going to go out and look up on the internet as activities or as games as well. The gray zone, there's a gray zone in every lap. It is a critical thinking, ethical decision making mini case study. I love these for lots of different reasons. They're great CTSO preparation in terms of starting to get students ready to meet with a judge and having to problem solve. They're good for students to take out to their work-based learning or to have a conversation with an adult in their life. They're great for mini debates in your classroom or for just discussions. So I started having Ethics Wednesdays in my class, so students knew when they came in, one of the first things we were going to do was a gray zone. We just did it in so many different ways we weren't doing it the same every week. Then at the end of every student lap is a make it pay. This takes it back to their employment, takes it back to their school, takes it back to their community about why this is really important and how knowing this information will make it pay off for them in the end. Again, really number of ways that you can use it as the make it pay. You can send it out for them to have conversations in their adult life. You can have many case studies built around it. You can actually have them do a little bit of research, or you could have them journal. Journaling is a really great thing to do with Make It Pays or blogging online. The instructor component comes with a lot of really great tools, and the first is a discussion guide. The discussion guide walks you through the lab, so if you decide that you want to lecture, it's not only going to tell you what to say, it's going to provide examples, questions, and then links out to the web as well for you to share additional information with your students. Each of the discussion guides is linked to a PowerPoint that you can use or not use. You can modify the discussion guide. You can modify the PowerPoint as well. So it'll tell you what slide and what to say and what to do for each of those slides. Really great tool to use if you have a substitute coming into the classroom and you want to continue instruction, and this is something that a substitute might not understand. You can hand them the discussion guide, you can have them use the PowerPoint, and they're going to be able to follow along. They won't do as great a job as you would do in the classroom, but their students would certainly get the information if you decide that you want to lecture for this particular topic. There are 4 activities with each lap, 2 individual activities and 2 group activities. The number 1 individual and the number 1 group activity are lower level activities designed to be done more quickly. The number 2 individual activity and number 2 group activity are higher level critical thinking that are going to take your students longer to complete. There are handouts if there are handouts as part of the instructions for that activity. This is a really great activity that's found in the productivity lab. I actually start my lesson using this group activity for productivity. Students have to make paper boxes. You're going to break them into groups following the instructions. Each of the groups is going to get a number of sheets of paper that look like this, and they're also going to get a set of instructions. What they don't know is that only one group has the correct set of instructions, and only one group is really going to be pretty productive in this activity. And what it does at the end is allows you to talk about productivity, what makes people and groups more productive or less productive, introduce a glossary and terms that are unfamiliar with the students, but from an activity that students get really engaged in and excited about, and that continues on into that conversation that you have with them about productivity. Absolutely love this to start that particular lesson. The total recall questions that you saw on the student side, the answer key is here. You can share it with students. You can use it to, if you actually have them do the recall questions as part of their reading, then you have the answer as well. The glossary is there. You can make word walls. You can post them online. You can print them off and have students put them in their notebooks. You can have students do 3x5 cards virtually or actual real 3x5 cards. Lots of different ways to use the glossary. The practice test is now called a learning guide in our newer labs, and it can be used for lots of different things. It can be used as guided notes for your students. And if a student is absent that day and you've used it for guided notes, you can actually give them the answer key so that they're not trying to decipher other students' writing. You can pull some of those questions out and use it for an assessment, or you can hand a question to each student as they walk in the door and ask them to answer it or to look up some information about it or find an article about that specific item. For example, here under Objective B, there are a number of taxes listed. They might hand each student or a group of students or a table one of those types of taxes and have them go out and look up an example of those taxes online. The post-test is there as well, but again, don't have to always use it as an assessment. You can use it for games. You can create Kahoots out of it. You can use it for guided notes if you would like to. You can tear it apart. You can not give all of the questions. You could just use some of the questions, but again, you can also use it as an assessment. Each of the post-tests starts with an objective test. It's multiple choice. And not only does it have the post-test, but it has the answer key. Love the answer key because not only does it tell students what answer is correct, but why the other 3 distractors are incorrect. Really a great tool to continue the learning for students. Because these are standardized tests, these are really great to share with students and to have them take as they're preparing for their CTSO competition. For some of them, put some time on it so that they feel that pressure of completing their work in a specific amount of time. This will spill over not only into CTSOs, but it's going to spill over into their broader standardized testing that you do for your school district, and then also as they move on into college and career, if they have to take time tests in the future. There's a skill assessment. If there is a skill component to the lab, there will be a skill assessment. Again, you can use this as an assessment, but you can also use it as a mini role play for your CTSO. You can actually make it into a 5th activity and have students demonstrate their knowledge through the skill assessment. So the assessment is there, the checklist for you to complete would be there as well. You could have students videotape, you could have them evaluate each other, so many different ways that you could use the skill assessment. So why labs? I want to talk about four just from my 33 years of experience as a teacher. Number one, such a significant time saver. Now I don't have to try to think of the lesson plan and start with a blank sheet of paper. I have all of these really great components to deliver the lesson plan. I just need to decide which parts of that lab, which tools from the lab I'm going to use in order to deliver a really strong lesson plan based on a performance indicator that business and industry has told me that my students need to know when they come to work for them. Differentiated instruction. I'm sure that you, like I, had such varied abilities in my classroom. This allows me to differentiate not only across those abilities, but I also ran a school-based enterprise, so I might have students who needed information and knowledge in one area that other students didn't need to know, so I could assign those LAPs out separately to those students. And for my work-based learning students, if I saw that they were struggling, I could pull a particular LAP that would help them support. So lots of different ways to differentiate instruction using labs, not just on ability, but on the need to know and the need to learn. Really great CTSO preparation. Again, I talked about that with the post-test, but also the gray zones, the skill assessments, the activities, all helping to get students ready for their CTSO competition. And then over the last 10 years for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I had to be able to share with my administrators every time I met with them how my students were growing and learning in the class, and using the labs and the data from the labs with the post-test and activities, I was able to show very clearly that students were experiencing growth, not based on tests that I wrote and assessments I wrote, but that they were on standardized assessments that business and industry were saying that those students needed to know. So how do you make it work for you? I've shared lots of ideas already, but really I want you to think about tearing that lap apart figuratively, not necessarily literally, and figuring out the best way that you want to deliver that lesson plan. Because you see, no matter how you deliver it, the learning is going to be the same, the outcomes are the same, the objectives are the same. Whether you use it as a part of a flipped classroom, whether you have students blog, you set up expert groups within your class to be able to teach each other, whether you use that lab to help in your school-based enterprise or create some additional games out of the tools that are there. Homebound and sick students, labs are wonderful for, because now they're not trying to decipher notes from other students or notes from you. They can read the information, do the activity. They have the resources that they need. Even if you didn't have your students read the student lab, you might have a homebound or sick student read the lab or use a link to watch a video. Lots of different ways. You decide how you want to deliver that lesson. I want to thank you for joining us on this webinar today. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is clarkb@mbaresearch.org. Again, my name is Brenda Clark, and we are here to help make your life a little bit easier in the classroom. Thank you.